Your photography and video podcast, where we introduce you to some of the most amazing creatives from around the world. I'm your host, Wayne Johns, and as always, I'm here with my good friend, buddy, and co-host, Jake Hicks. Hey, man.
How you doing?
Good, my friend. Good. Well, bit of a different setup today. We've got a guest in the studio. I'm in the studio. You're not. What's going on?
I know. I still have to get up early, though.
Get up, mate. Get up early. I think that's the first time in how many years you've had to get up early?
Look, this is twice this week now.
twice in a week. What, before midday, or before the moon comes out?
I just don't think I'm getting enough appreciation.
Mate, I think the morning has affected you because you've still got, like, you know, your cape on and your cloak and from being nocturnal.
Yeah.
So what's been happening, mate? You've been busy on the workshops.
Yeah, it's obviously after the summer's always a bit patchy in terms of being quieter. But yeah, after the summer and that sort of thing, yeah, things start to get a bit busy again. And we have been doing a lot of workshops. Just did one on Saturday, brand new one for this year, which was the one where we were using projectors in our images and that sort of thing. So that was a lot of big setups, a lot of old sort of Hollywood style setups using the projectors and stuff as well. Yeah, so we got some really cool shots. Yeah, it was good, man. It's really good.
Nice, man. Nice. And all going really, really well for you.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Yeah.
Good.
Yourself? You've been busy? I know you're always off doing different workshops with Fuji and Ari and that sort of thing.
Yeah. I'm just prepping a couple coming up at the moment. I've got a Fuji one coming up in 7th of November in Glasgow. That's a beauty workshop with the GFX systems. So that's going to be really nice. The 50 SDR and the beast of the new 100. So that's going to be cool. And then I'm off to Copenhagen after that for Ari. Yeah, nice.
Nice, man. Good.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So it's going to be good fun, man. It's going to be good fun. But we've got a lovely guest in the studio today. I mean, I'm not going to lie, mate. It is nicer to look across my table than at my monitor at your face.
Yeah, I mean I'll take that. Yeah,
especially this early in the morning.
I knew you were going to say it. I washed my hair for you. Let it be known.
Oh, you don't know how, mate. That gives me shivers down my spine. Well, man, this is. We're episode 16. And obviously we're now on a 2-weekly format, 2-weekly frequency. So we're banging them in there now and trying to get them out and retain the quality. But yeah. Every 2 weeks now, and episode 16 here. And in this episode, obviously, we're talking to a very lovely lady who's opposite me, who's an award-winning super talent with a set of brushes and a colour palette.
I am indeed.
Hell, buddy, she can even make you and me look good. All right.
Wow.
Well, I don't want to blow my own
before
trumpet,
noon.
But...
Well, granted, it'll take some effort, but man, she could work some serious skills with those luscious locks of yours.
You do have great hair, Jake. Yeah.
But on the flip side, it's always a double-edged sword. I'm not sure that a makeup palette could sort out my mug, though, mate. I mean, that's a lot of war paint.
Anything's possible.
Now, bizarrely, we've both had a working relationship with this lovely creative makeup artist, hairstylist, but both directly and indirectly at the same time, because I've worked with Sarah quite a bit, but you haven't. But Sarah has worked with your wife.
I have.
Correct.
Yeah.
Small world.
Small world. Look at that. Right. Shall we introduce our guest into the show?
Let's do it.
We got some questions to ask. She's looking nervous. It's a nervous smile.
My first time.
It's the first time. I'm not going to say what I was going to say. Too early. Jake's already shaking his head. Okay, well, Sarah Elizabeth Abbott, welcome to episode 16 of the podcast.
It's a pleasure.
Wow, super talent with brushes and makeup. How are you feeling?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, it's lovely to be here on this lovely sunny day. And in this amazing studio. So thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you for coming. And, you know, we've for our listeners, we're already diving deep into the cookies and the chocolate biscuits
We
and
are.
coffee this morning. Sorry, Jake. Man.
Yeah, you can't see that, but they got coffee, biscuits. I'd like to point out that Wayne's even got a candle
He has.
on the table.
And I hadn't noticed, but
I
feel very
something special.
privileged.
Special, man. Special. Got to look after this lady. She did my wife's makeup
I
at
did.
my wedding. So, you know.
Oh, okay. Okay, you guys
Hair
have
and
known each other a
makeup.
long time.
Yeah.
We have, yeah. How long has it been, Wayne? I'm trying to think. About 8 years?
8 years, 9 years? Yeah, it must
something
be.
like that, yeah.
Must be. And worked together on some good projects,
Yeah.
some very nice projects,
Absolutely.
commercially and personal work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some really nice stuff.
Good times. Good times. CJ, you should have been here, man. You're missing out on all of this. I'd love
I'm going straight back to bed.
Yeah,
after
I
this,
can
whatever you
imagine that.
talk about.
I can imagine. Okay, Sarah. Well, for our audience, this is our first question, the one we ask everybody. For our audience, how would you describe yourself and what you do?
So, I suppose my title is I'm a makeup and hair artist. And I guess there's lots of ways of describing this kind of job because depending on the area of work that you go into, but an artist basically is what I am. I think for me, having that fashion and artistic background, that was kind of heavily where my inspiration came from, and I take it through to every part of my work. But fundamentally, yeah, I'm an artist, so I take inspiration from the world and turn that into my creative. So my blank canvas is then transformed.
This is one hell of a blank canvas on the opposite side of your table. That would be a mission for you for sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, you came from sort of a bit of a fine art
I
sort of
did.
background, didn't you?
Yeah, so literally from a child.
Like most of us.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? I think especially if you go heavily into beauty fashion, I mean, or any area of makeup, if you've got that kind of creative sort of starting point as an artist, then if you're inspired by everything else, then it's not just about makeup. It could be anything really. And by having that starting point, it just gave me that sort of free rein, I suppose. And doing that as a child and not really knowing what I wanted to do. So some people might start and say, I want to be a makeup artist. But actually, I think because I always just wanted to be an artist, I wasn't quite sure how I wanted to be an artist by doing it in that way. Yeah, that was kind of where I came from, really.
Awesome.
But how did you make that transition then? Did you say that you did like fine art, and then how did you just started doing your own makeup and you're like, do you know what, this saves money on canvas, let's just do this? Or
Well,
what was the?
To be fair, I've never actually stopped painting, and I think that's kind of one of the biggest things is always painting.
Okay.
It's kind of it's always part of me.
So you still paint now?
I still paint now. Yeah, I still create things. I still sculpt. I do all of it, but. In terms of making that transition, it was more about how can I turn my art into something I can do as a job. And I think I could have done anything really. I mean, I would have enjoyed being a photographer or a stylist or anything in that kind of area.
Okay.
But I decided to go and do a BA honours in makeup and hair design, which encompassed everything about the industry. And it gave me that platform to be able to do what I do. So
Do you mind me asking how long ago that was? You did that?
I graduated in 2011, so 8 years ago now. Yeah, so probably when I just met Wayne.
Well, yeah,
Pretty much.
It was because we actually met through a colleague and a friend of mine, Michael Dax.
Yes, we did.
And I know he was lecturing at a university.
He was.
And is that the same university you were
Yes.
at?
Yep.
Okay. So, and then when you left, you worked on a couple of projects with Michael fresh.
I did.
From completion.
Yeah.
Okay, it makes pictures
Yeah.
coming together.
Absolutely.
So back then, I suppose, excuse me, the course would have been a little bit more structured in how you were being taught and what was being covered at the BA Hons. Would you say that some makeup artists now, maybe they don't go down that route?
Absolutely.
I don't come across.
Yeah, I'm not saying
many
that's the only
makeup
way to do what I do. For me, I was always quite academic as well, so I kind of wanted to do the most training I possibly could do, and to me, a BA honours was that way of doing that. And also I was sort of 18 at the time, so I just wanted to kind of push myself as much as I could in that way. The nice thing about it was it did mean that I could meet fellow photographers, stylists who were also training at the university, and we could work together and almost start the journey together. But absolutely, I mean, nowadays, anyone can do anything they want to do. They can just go straight into it and be creative and do their own way of doing it. But for me, learning my craft in the kind of, I suppose you would say, possibly the kind of most academic way of doing it was quite important. And it just gave me that platform to start, really. But also, I suppose working outside of university was really important as well.
Get into some fun stuff first about your job. What do you love about your job?
Oh my goodness, I'm just so lucky. I know we were saying earlier how it's just such a privilege to be able to do something that you love, and pretty much everything I love. I mean, I'm able to be creative on a daily basis. I'm working with lovely people, and every day's different. So, and being self-employed, you just get that freedom to kind of be your own boss, really. But in terms of being a makeup artist, I just adore having a complete blank canvas, starting from scratch and just seeing where it takes me. I mean, sometimes obviously there's briefs and you're working as a team together before you've even started, and you've got ideas that you've collated together. And that's also a really fun part of the job as well, sort of bouncing off each other with ideas. But in terms of the actual craft, working with products and just transforming people really is just, it's amazing.
Because you work in the fashion, beauty and editorial world.
Yeah.
But you also work in the wedding and bridal world as well, don't you?
Yeah, two very different.
You mix and two very different sort of realms.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for us, and for our listeners, because they're quite a vast difference, our listeners, from amateurs to professionals.
Yeah.
I mean, if we can just talk about the process that you get for interpreting a brief when you have a commercial shoot.
Yeah.
Can you give a short description of the process that you go through yourself when you're approached by a client with a brief, and how you interpret that concept and make it happen on the day? Really?
Okay. So there's quite a lot that happens behind the scenes before you even start on the day. So you'll have lots of meetings either online or via email, lots of mood boards sent back and forth to discuss ideas. Sometimes you'll actually meet in person. Sometimes it will literally just be a meeting on the morning before you start. So there could have been months, weeks, years of planning going into these shoots, or it could just be something that's really creative that's kind of thrown together on the day. It can be so broad. The process basically involves lots of elements, kind of a starting point and then just going from there. But it is all teamwork. It's not just about me. It's kind of working together and being harmony, really.
See, Jake, it's not all about you at all, mate.
Well, I suppose it depends. You know, it depends on the aim of the game, really. If you're going for something that's more beauty, if you're going for something that's more about the clothing, it depends. If you're selling, if you're branding, it depends what you're trying to do with that image.
You hit many areas, don't you? Because I mean, you got fashion and then editorials are completely different. So obviously, fashion, you're selling the clothing and the brand, and the editorial, you're creating a story. So you get a little bit more creative, and beauty, obviously, is in its own right. Yeah, a lot more precise.
Yeah,
is a good word.
And I guess it depends who your client is. So if you are doing more of kind of like a branding kind of selling side of things, it's kind of what is that image trying to sell? Whereas if it's purely art and it's kind of a creative element, then it's what is that focal point and what is that image trying to tell you? So and sometimes the two can merge together as well. So so it can follow lots of different elements, really.
You mentioned that you do both wedding and editorial, beauty work as well. Yeah. So my sort of experience in the past has been that wedding makeup is very, very different to photo shoot makeup.
It could be foreseen as that. I mean, I like to think the reason that I've kind of gotten into wedding makeup now is that it's kind of taken a real diverse change in that a lot of clientele nowadays don't want that traditional bridal hair and makeup. They actually want something a little bit more modern, a bit more interesting, and actually looking at somebody who does fashion and beauty and taking that experience into the bridal industry kind of gives you a bit of an edge. So
Interesting. So you're saying that they're almost, Instagram ready type?
Pretty much, yeah. They do. They look at my work and they think, do you know what, I just want somebody who's really amazing at what they do. And then also taking it through to the bridal side in terms of the skills that are involved and kind of taking that beautiful skin and that gorgeous hairstyle that could either be editorial or it could be wedding. So there's kind of the two have really merged together in recent years.
So people personally now that aren't in the industry is just having a more sort of fashion approach, and they want to be more on trend themselves for what they see online, a bit more modern and creative.
Goes with the clothing, a lot of bridal wear now as well. It's not your traditional kind of, obviously anyone could have any style, but a lot of people are wearing kind of suits or kind of unusual garments that perhaps wouldn't have been traditionally wedding. People are just a little bit more sort of in tune, I think, to style and trend, maybe more so than ever because of Instagram and social media, perhaps.
Glorious social media. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
But of course, for you being a makeup artist, I mean, it's not something you just decide to do one day and you wake up and then you go out and buy a few brushes and makeup, is it? I mean, you don't just you're not slapping some shape and colour on the skin and throwing up a quick ponytail.
As some people think.
I mean, can
you just whip up that hair? Can you just, there's a little bit more skill.
Can you do this in the picture as they're holding it up to you? There's a whole, for a model that you're working with commercially, there's a whole cleansing, conditioning stage first to the skin before you even get to applying the creative look you've got planned for the day, isn't there?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a whole process. With a model, they obviously, it's their job, so they would come to you with you would hope sort of perfect skin, and you would take their skin and kind of, like we said before, take that blank canvas and turn it into whatever you were trying to create. And again, enhancing those features though, but slightly different with bridal. Obviously, you are given what you're given and everybody's beautiful in their own way, but it's kind of transforming that face into the best version of them. And that's kind of my approach with bridal, is kind of turning somebody into the best person that they can be and they can look, and they still want to look like them.
Yeah.
But on a really good day. Really.
On a really good day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you sort of, because obviously some models have different skin types now. Obviously, makeup products have improved over the years and got, healthier, let's say, for skin and for everyone else and animals especially. Do you have a lot of models that have, allergies where you have to be really careful with the products you use? Yeah,
I actually had somebody who was celiac recently, and I learned a lot. Again, that's why I love my job, because every day is different. So I would never have known unless I did my research with allergies. So this lady was celiac, and I actually had to check every single ingredient, which I do anyway. I'm very cautious with what I use. I want to make sure that everything I'm putting on people's faces and in their hair, that I understand what it's doing and why it's there. But with the celiac condition, it actually meant that I could only use certain hairsprays because of the spray that got into the atmosphere. She could then have breathed it in, and then she's digesting that and then making her unwell. So things like that, you learn these new, interesting scientific things as well on a daily basis. There's actually a lot of science that goes into it.
Jeez, there's more into it than you think, isn't there? Yeah.
So she was really pleased because obviously I made sure that I kind of really researched and used things that weren't going to cause her problems, and even things on the skin. So obviously foundations and things, making sure that they were sort of not going to affect her, because when she had a shower, for example, she could have accidentally got it into her mouth and then digested it that way. So it's thinking of things like this. Yeah.
Wow. And we think we've got it tough, mate.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Do I press the button? Don't I press the button? Shall I saturate some more colour on them or not?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So there's quite a lot of health, and I'm making sure that there's a lot of care that goes into my job as well. And it's not just about the artistic side. It's making sure that your client or your model is being well looked after, and you've checked every element.
If you have one of those days where the model's not openly told you, because sometimes we know what, models come in, they're having hair and makeup done, they sit there Snapchatting on their phone, Instagramming,
A little bit
texting
busy.
the world, a little bit busy while you're trying to get set up and everything. Have you ever had one that hasn't told you anything and you've put makeup on and it's gone, oh crap?
Touch wood. Give me some wood, Wayne. I haven't.
Oh my God,
I haven't.
And the innuendos have started.
Well, the innuendos have started. But yeah, touch wood, I haven't had a reaction in my chair as of yet. But
Okay.
But yeah, fingers crossed that won't ever happen either. But yeah,
No.
you never know. I do ask a lot of questions before I begin. So
Yeah, so now you know, Jake. Next time, tell her all the information before she puts your makeup on, and next time
it.
all will be good, mate.
Yeah.
Now, you guys carry a lot of kit, don't you?
yes,
I mean,
you have to be hench.
It's not just like one case.
I love it.
It's not like one case or two cases. I mean, you have like a multi-stack case on wheels. It's like it's like bloody Inspector Gadget, isn't it?
And I do makeup and hair as well. It's not just makeup. So it's
Yeah.
double the amount. So you should see me when I'm on the tube and I'm trying to get from one destination to another. It's a mastered art. Of the
Not only packing your car, but also carrying all the cases at once.
Yeah, so I've developed some strong arms and shoulders, and it has definitely helped with
But you're
over
still
the years.
such a slight frame.
Well, people often say to me, how do you carry all this kit? But yeah, just I guess over the years,
You get used to it.
I do try and decant things down and make things easier to travel with. Or sometimes I think, do I need that in my kit? But most of the times are the times I need it, so
Yeah.
I try and keep it in just in case.
So how do you decide? Because you only have to look at one of our behind the scenes videos, from even a personal shoot. And actually, if people went onto YouTube, onto my YouTube page, and saw one of our behind the scenes videos with Jake's wife, a whole lot of colour, it was called. You only have to see when all the makeup is laid out across the tables. I mean, that's an absolute stack of, when
I mean, honestly, my wife has got racks and racks and racks and racks of it here. Yeah, I know it's a lot.
I see it laid out. We do a pan with the camera, and it almost takes like with the camera, it takes like almost 2 minutes to pan the whole lot. It's like, how do you? I mean, obviously, we were in your location then, so everything was around you, so it was good. But how do you decide when you go to a shoot? How do you decide what the hell to take and what the hell not to take?
Well, this is the endless question. I think lots of makeup and hairstylists would say the same. I mean, you have your go-to products that you absolutely adore and you use pretty much all the time. But the whole point of kind of learning, which is you're doing all the time, it is to try new things. So by having all these new products to try out, it's the best way of experimenting and learning and getting new ideas out on the table, literally. But yeah, in terms of choosing, I mean, it is impossible sometimes. A lot of products are very similar as well. So
how much information do you need before the shoot then? I mean, because Wayne obviously raises a valid point. Like,
Sure.
I mean, do you just bring everything, or do you need certain things for certain?
No, I mean,
for like certain.
to be
people,
fair,
or-
if it's a particular shoot, then obviously you've got that brief, so you know roughly what you're going to be using that day. So
let's get into that then.
Yeah.
So what is that brief? Like, what is that details that photographers should be giving you,
Sure.
or a director and that sort of thing?
So obviously you would like to see what the outcome is going to be in terms of what the aim is. So if you're doing, say, a pop of colour, what are those key colours that you really want to see in the image? So we know that we can bring that kind of, texture or, style of product. So if you're doing something glossy, then we know that we have to bring something. But a lot of products, they're not necessarily big, so you can kind of mix mediums across.
Okay.
It's more kind of accessories, so things like lashes, or if you're doing something like adorning to the face, so if you're kind of using fabrics or anything that's kind of really experimental, those are kind of the things that would really need to be detailed, because I mean, I have been known to sort of whip something up on the spot and kind of randomly just create, and you have to be versatile as an artist. If someone's got an idea and it's going to be great, you just go and get it there and then if you haven't got
Just
it.
got to go with it.
But at the same time, most of the time I've got pretty much everything in my cupboard. And again,
Yeah.
having
Wigs,
Yep,
everything, mate.
wigs,
Yeah.
I've got a cupboard that is just full of treats. It's just, I love going in there, and it's got all of my fashion bits. So, again, that can be transformed into artistic ideas for the face. But
Yeah, indeed.
yeah, so
What are some of the things you get asked for then by by, because I would say that myself as well, I'm not proficient with that many makeup terms, and I think a lot of photographers are the same. I mean, obviously you're saying things that maybe we don't understand, and I'm sure you must hear things like, can I just have smoky eyes? Like, yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
that's about smoky eye.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. Like, that's where our sort of knowledge ends, really.
Well, I think it does highlight something then actually for other members of the team, is that if your knowledge is kind of, if you're going to say a smoky eye, then actually having a bit more knowledge into what you mean in terms of a smoky eye, because actually that word, I've had many conversations about this, because
it's the go-to line.
I'm sure.
Nowadays it's like, can I have a natural smoky eye? And it's quite funny because natural and smoky eye are two very different ideas. Yeah. But what a lot of people are trying to say is blended. So smoky traditionally is charcoal-based colours because it's smoke. But often somebody will say a smoky eye, but they actually mean like brown blended. But actually that's completely different. That's more kind of, tertiary colours that are really sort of blended in. But I think a lot of photographers...
So would you prefer images then? Would you prefer example images from photographers rather than them trying to stumble through using words they don't really understand?
I don't know. I think
boards,
most photographers
not
I work
speaking
with do kind of have quite a good understanding of what they're after. And as long as you've got that imagery to back it up. And I think rather than just seeing an entire image and saying something like this, it's actually cropping down and breaking it down so that...
Be more precise.
Yeah, so that you are on the same wavelength, because obviously you do have to use a lot of your own ideas and your thought process, but equally by having a better understanding, you're going to get more towards what you're aiming.
More finished product.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it before. I've been in studios before where I've heard non-professional photographers, let's say. I've heard them with both model and makeup artist. And I literally almost curled up in a corner and cringed. Like, it was just ridiculous. And I heard a photographer go, "You do what you do best, and I'll do what I do best."
That's just...
And that was it.
No.
That was both to makeup and hair and model.
Wow.
And that was wild. There's a brief for you. It's like, interpret that one.
That's literally my worst nightmare. Yeah.
So when let's say when working with a non-professional, what's the thing you hate hearing the most for a makeup and hair request? There must be one thing you hear all the time that just makes your eyes roll in the back of your head, or hand to head, palm type scenario.
Oh, that's a really good question. But I think the trouble is I'm really good at working on the spot. So I kind of, even if somebody tells me something that's really basic, I can often then ask questions from it.
Yeah. But I guess, I suppose, with non-professionals, you would whip something up that looks beautiful, and they wouldn't know the difference anyway. I guess, would they? So
yeah, that's the trouble. I think
it's a win-win.
So what do you ask then? If as you say, there's like something basic and you want to do the best job that you can do, like what sort of questions do you follow back with the
I would almost
photographer? Do you go and look, are we shooting in black and white? Is this going to be a headshot? Is this going to be coloured gels? Is that sort of thing?
I would literally just ask so many questions until I am pretty much happy in my mind, because you're working with people's expectations at the end of the day, and you don't know if somebody's got this high expectation of what they want. But if they haven't given you any brief whatsoever, how are you expected to
create something
to do that? So you have to ask so many questions to be able to do that. So yeah, I would literally just go through the complete brief kind of process and ask as many things as I can. But you would like to think that you would be working as a team from the starting point to be able to do that.
So for you as well, and again for our listeners, obviously a bit of an obvious question for us here as a professional team, but do you also ask about the lighting on set as well?
Absolutely.
How important is that to you as a makeup artist in what you do, and understanding that from the photographer's point of view?
So important. And again, going back to why I also wanted to study a BA on it is because I wanted to be able to understand everyone's job. So rather than sort of coming in and just doing a nice makeup, I wanted to be able to know what the photographer was doing, how the lighting was going to work, how the shadows were going to cast and create different dimensions on the face with the makeup. Because in one light, the makeup could look a certain way, the same with the hair. And in another light, it could look completely different. So again, by learning those skills, I am nowhere near as experienced in any shape or form with photography and lighting, but just knowing those skills can help you to get the best out of your image, really.
True. She's coming up, Jake. She's a bit more training. She's going to start putting gels into her work.
I know. It's all the rage now, apparently.
All the rage, mate. She's going to start doing workshops soon. From a photography point of view, not makeup.
Sorry, guys. I'm taking over the world.
That's it.
So do you have a favourite creative look that you've done over the years? One you still look back on and just go, wow, whether it was your own sort of concept, your own idea, or whether it was, a part of a brief, something you've worked on, do you look at that and go, that's amazing?
There's so many. I mean, I love all the images really that I've done, because I think a lot of hard work's gone into them, and it's not just an image to me, it's actually a piece of art. So even if it is something quite simple, but I do love the really, really simple, clean skin, because it's kind of, and like the glowy kind of sheer looks, because a lot more work in a way goes into that. But at the same time, I also love completely switching it up and just throwing colour and just seeing the way that things can change. So there's some gorgeous work that we've done together, where like the colour pop lips, the ombres, the glitter, just seeing the way that different colours and textures can work on the face with different lighting. And I also, actually going back to gels, Jake, I did a gorgeous shoot a long, long time ago with gels, with wigs, and it just seeing the way that colour.
I've seen that shoot, yeah, I've seen that shoot.
Yeah,
beautiful.
That was a long time ago. But again, I like to think that when I do these kind of colourful editorial works, that a lot goes into them. So I am really proud of what I've done so far, really.
Yeah. And funny, because the glitter one and the ombre lip one was actually with Jake's wife.
Of course it was.
Well, wasn't it? Actually, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
And she's amazing because she is literally just a chameleon. She just transforms with whatever you put onto her, really. So she's such a great canvas to be able to work on.
And suits so many different looks so easily as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And no, Jocelyn.
You're a lucky man.
If you're out there, you're
a lucky
amazing.
Man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, don't tell her too much.
And then of course, we go completely opposite world to Jake, right? Black and white photography.
Yeah.
Because I remember one of the shoots I did. We were it was a workshop, and the environment we were in didn't really have any backgrounds, and the one background they had was this little pop-up background that was this vibrant bokeh of coloured streetlights. Sort of styling and clothing and hair was more film noir style. So we shot it in black and white because obviously the coloured bokeh wouldn't suit the image. Yeah. So for you then, knowing that that's going to be shot in black and white, not just converted to black and white later, how does that affect you in your makeup in terms of your tones? Because your colours then affect us in black and white.
No, I mean, makeup just looks completely different in black and white. And I also love the transformation from seeing something from colour and then being changed into black and white, because as you say, the way that the tones look is completely different. But if you knew that you were shooting black and white initially, literally everything just has to be so contrasty in order to get that pop. So you could use a really strong red lip because you wouldn't see that, but it's just knowing how that would then change with the tones. So yeah, again,
different.
It's understanding it's understanding how it's going to work afterwards. And what I often do if I know that I'm going to be working in that way is I'll actually take photographs on my phone and things like that beforehand in black and white, just to make sure that I'm happy with the way that the contrast is coming out, because sometimes you're not quite sure, but often working in blacks or deep, strong tones, and then they will come out as sort of popping as you can.
But I guess for you, it's understanding, especially from Jake's world of, rich, saturated colour. For you, it's taking your colour palette and understanding that colour in terms of tone.
Yes, absolutely.
To be able to give perhaps not a harsh, using a black and say using a white, but you need sort of a mid and just below mids and some lighter transitional shades. You've now got to, sort of use your colour palette to give you your black and white tonal ranges.
Yeah, so again, it's knowing about the colour wheel and how tones work. So by having my artistic background, again, that really did help with understanding the way that works.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a lot of my gel shoots, I've often found that I've had to advise the makeup artists to go a little bit darker, a little bit more contrasty than normal, because if I'm washing like the face in just like a complete, blue color or something like that, it is going to reduce the contrast of the makeup overall.
Yeah.
So I have found that just asking the makeup to be a little bit darker for those heavy colored shots does seem to just give it a little bit more pop.
And it works both ways. Again, talking earlier about how sort of the brief works. I mean, obviously you knew that was what you were aiming for. So by advising the makeup artist, because again, sometimes we don't always know exactly what your sort of mind's eye is thinking. So by doing that, would have obviously helped both sides of the picture.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
So are there any creatives out there that influence you or influence your work? I mean, obviously you come from an art background, so that could be quite diverse, really, couldn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, when I was younger, I used to love just beautiful portraiture.
Yeah.
I used to love Picasso. I used to love Brock. Just all sorts of kind of cubism movements, and then landscape like art as well. And then that kind of took me. I mean, Jackson Pollock, literally everything that you could imagine in terms of art. And then seeing people like Alex Box, Phyllis Collins, Val Garland, all these amazing makeup artists who really use colour and textures on the face. There's so many people doing it nowadays, but obviously they're the sort of the key ones that you kind of follow for that kind of inspiration.
What sort of trends are you seeing right now then? Like what's popular? I know, from my point of view, I'm always asking for that dewy skin, that shiny sort of
it continues.
moist-looking skin.
Yeah, I think just that inner glow is just it's almost becoming a bit space age now, though, with the kind of iridescent highlighters. I mean, obviously.
Oh yeah, I mean, I can't get shiny in places. The shinier the better. If I could get away with them dripping in oil, then I would do it.
And that's not just for his photo shoots.
But it's going to do a flip. As it always does. I mean, retro obviously just carries on forever, but it's going to flip. It's going to be matte soon because it can't keep going with this shiny. It always does. It's always evolving, and you have to evolve with it. And then,
are there any other trends you're seeing then?
So the retro thing again. So sort of
what is retro?
70s at the moment is really popular. Lots of florals, sort of going into the autumn, looking ahead, kind of. Always following the catwalks and what's going on at the moment with sort of autumn, winter.
Smoky eyes, then, yeah?
Smoky eyes, yeah. Smoky eyes are always gorgeous in the winter.
Smoky eye. Yeah, just give me a smoky eye.
Often kind of warm tones as well to the eyes this time of year.
This time of year, yeah.
Yeah, it's going with the seasons and adapting.
So what, browns and oranges then?
Yeah, orange is really popular at the moment. Just sort of blended across the lid, taken onto the cheeks and the lips as well. It's simple as well, really simple makeups that just everybody can do.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, is there anything you find annoying about the industry? Going away from the creative side?
It's difficult because different areas as well. Because before I kind of settled more into the kind of beauty fashion sort of side of things, I did a lot of TV. I did, all sorts of media kind of based makeup. I'd probably say just the way that sometimes people come across, because at the end of the day, you are always working as a team.
Yeah.
And one thing I remember being taught very young, when I was training as a makeup artist, but also just in general life, is you as a person is so vital to how you get through. You could be the most incredible makeup artist, hairstylist, photographer, but if you as a person, if you are not sort of able to get on with everybody and work hard as a team, then realistically, you're not going to get the jobs constantly. You're not going to be called back. So probably, the difficult thing is if people aren't sort of trying to help each other, I suppose.
Yeah, okay.
Sometimes that can be very frustrating.
Like you say, just working as that team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I mean, you went through the full gamut of training at college, university with the BA-ons and that sort of stuff. Are you seeing makeup artists now perhaps getting away with more than they could have done years ago because of professional retouching?
Sure.
Like obviously the retouching has come a long way in the last 8 years for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm seeing not all the time, but occasionally I'm seeing lazy makeup artists because maybe they haven't had to do it because a retoucher is going to fix it.
That is also very tricky. And again, I like to think that the really talented artists sort of will get seen for that, because there are, like you say, there are some artists who are kind of cutting corners, becoming, I'm doing little hyphens, makeup artists, just from having like an Instagram account, and just saying that they are professional because they've done a few cool makeups. But actually there's so much that goes into what we do, and as I was saying earlier, there's a lot of science, there's a lot of health, there's so much that goes into what it takes to do what we do. So it can be frustrating when you see someone who's kind of cut a lot of corners and still doing, I mean, I don't want to put anyone down, because everyone deserves to get where they get.
We do.
Yeah,
we are doing our best to just eke out some hard truths.
Hard truths about bettering yourself as learning your craft.
Yeah,
I think is something we use a lot, and
and from my point of view as well, I know that our audience is a lot of photographers, and I think that I'm just trying to get out of you the fact that we shouldn't just go to the first makeup artist we find on Instagram,
and also do a bit of research into what we've done and who we are as a person, and also get some kind of feedback from other people that they've worked with, not just go by their imagery, because as you say, you don't know how edited it is, you don't know how what's gone into that image, so it's really important to know that the skills are there, because at the end of the day you're going to turn up to this job, and if you can't do what you want to do, then it's not going to work.
It's not going to work out. No. And I've seen clients book makeup artists before based on their Instagram following without actually looking at their Instagram page. And man, that was just shocking.
The number of followers is very frustrating.
I'm doing a little inverted.
Yeah.
Again, where it's unfortunately, a modern world and social media does bring a lot of, let's say, lesser skilled, self-taught people that give themselves a title now in our world.
Yeah.
On all sides, really.
Equally, it can also bring out some incredible self-taught people.
Yes.
But on the flip side, there are also so many who are self-taught that are not kind of up to the job, really.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
We all got to get, experience from somewhere. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Like, we all got to start somewhere. I'm certainly not saying that those people aren't deserving of a chance, for sure. But if you are, or if you do have a big job on the line, and you need it to be right, then I would definitely agree with you, Sarah. You need to make sure that the person, like the makeup artist, hair person that you are looking into has got some sort of a background, at least. If their images are amazing, yet they've only got images that go back 6 months, 12 months, I'd be wary of that.
Yeah, definitely.
So have you ever turned up on set where the model's arrived, you haven't met the model yet, but you may have seen mood board from the model, from the agency, from the director, from the client, and you look at it, you think, oh, great, all good. So you get an idea of face shape, etc., skin, hair, whatever. And then they've turned up and you look at the skin and you've gone, oh,
completely
crap.
different. I already know what you're going to say,
crap.
because it happens all the time.
Yeah, I'm glad it's not just me then. Yeah.
You're like, are you the same person? No, again, that's kind of what we're there for, though, and you have to not be fearful of what you can do and what your skills can do, because equally you could have somebody turn up and they do look amazing and exactly like they're like what you've been sent, but most of the time they don't. So it's just knowing what
you guys have limits, though, don't you? I mean, you guys. I mean,
sure.
like in terms of textured skin, like spotty skin and that sort of stuff. I mean, I've worked with some great makeup artists, but still, like you, I've had a model, turn up in the past, and their skin has just been not what was advertised. And you got to go with it, really. You just got to make the best of it. But even then, there are limits as to what makeup artists
It is frustrating, and especially if you're doing a close-up beauty shoot, often with teeth as well. It's kind of making sure that people have got great teeth, and just like the lip dimensions and things like that. Again, like you say, we do have limits, so it's kind of just trying to make the best of what you've got. But that is kind of, I guess, where post-production does come in if somebody does have really, really kind of unlevel skin. But, I mean, there are some amazing products out there, and it does take extra time, though. So it's kind of adding that to your plan of what you're doing. So if you do have to do extra work to the skin, it's making sure you've got the time to be able to do it as well.
Yeah.
Well, let's just talk about that for a second then, because I think when I started out, when I first started working with professional makeup artists, I think I was genuinely surprised at like how long it was taking. It's like, what the hell? It's been an hour. Like, it's ridiculous. It's outrageous. Like, what the hell are you doing in there? You know, like what? You know,
that's as long as Jake takes in the shower in the morning.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, I don't just get up looking like this. But for new shooters, then working with makeup artists, and you know, let's say they're doing a beauty shoot or a headshot, or something like that. How long does it normally take? And I know that's such a vague, you know, like a normal.
It can really vary.
Anything,
yeah,
but,
I mean,
yeah.
Okay, I suppose realistically, if you're just doing sort of a really basic, beautiful beauty shot for makeup, an hour, and then if the hair was up, I mean, 20 minutes, you know, it's kind of, so a good hour and a half, I would say, for hair and makeup.
Yeah.
But it can, I mean, if you're doing something more complicated with lots of elements, it can take hours. I mean, it really does vary. The way I like to work is to kind of have a plan of the day. So if you know that you're doing multiple looks, is to kind of preempt what you're doing. So I do a lot of prepping, especially with the hair, have the hair prepped so that it's going to be adjusted for looks throughout the day, so that it saves time, because a lot of commercial work especially, they don't have the time on set to be able to do these changes. So you have to be able to work under pressure and be able to be speedy at what you do as well as good as what you do. But if you're doing something very creative and heavily embellished, then it's going to take a long time.
Yeah, so I suppose the advice there is to plan that into your shoot time as a shooter. You're like, okay, you know, it's going to take. Let's, you know, worst case scenario, let's put aside 2 hours to make sure that we've got hair and makeup.
Yeah,
and especially when you're working with, you know, non-commercial photographers who are used to that format, you've almost got to feed that back to the photographer and go, you know, guys, you know, doing a nude beauty look with minimal sort of makeup is going to take me like less than half the time of going to full makeup, blending colors, hair pieces, extensions, embellishments, you know, all of that. And it's making them aware, isn't it, that, hey, I need more time to do this. So again,
it's thinking of the plan of your day. So it's working with people's expectations. So if you're trying to cover several looks in the day, it's just thinking, okay, initially in the morning, it's going to take a long time. But if you want to then add little extra bits throughout the day just to adjust the look, they might only take a couple of minutes, because you might be adding just some glitter or some, you know, body accessories or something. So it might be subtle, but the initial preparation, 2 hours, like you say, just to set aside is really vital, just to make, because at the end of the day, if the makeup and hair doesn't look right, it's going to affect everything else.
Yeah, and that's right. Because, you know, on a lot of shoots, you may not just be doing makeup, you may be doing makeup and hair. Sure. So, you know, you need double the amount of time, especially if, you know, what you're doing with hair is also then complex as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's allowing that time. So, you know, for any sort of, you know, amateur or enthusiast photographers out there who want to start working with makeup artists that are just getting into that, it's, you know, have that in mind when you work them, and start with the simplest look first that you can add on to,
because then you can get going. If you really want to start shooting, then at least start.
That's a good tip.
Yeah,
that's a good tip.
Start with the simplest one and build up. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Whilst we're on that note of these tips and stuff, I know we mentioned it briefly before, but are there like specific, like 3 or 4 things that every photographer should give you before a shoot? Like, is it going to be on location? Is it going to be a studio? Is it going to be color? Is it going to be black and white? Is it going to be a headshot? Like, are there like a handful of things that you would love to know prior to every shoot?
All of those things that you've just mentioned are really vital. Definitely the location or the studio, because, I mean, even though we're makeup and hair, we are also taking care of our models. So if it's on location, we need to know to pack hot water bottle, things to keep our models warm, things to keep them going. I always pack sweets because I know they keep people happy. So I'm always thinking of looking after people. And obviously in the studio, it's making sure they've got the correct footwear, things that are going, again, you might need to pack a dressing gown for them just to make sure. Some studios come with that anyway. But it's knowing what facilities that you have for the team. And then, as you say, so in terms of the look, so knowing whether it's black and white, whether it's going to be colour, what kind of hair the model's going to have. So if she's got short hair or long hair, that's going to affect time again. With makeup, knowing, you know, roughly the kind of look that you want to go for. Styling, there's so many elements. I mean, I could write a huge list that's kind of needed beforehand.
It's just logistics, isn't it? Planning out the day and taking everything that's going to be on set into consideration, I guess. And it becomes easier the more you do it, the more experienced you are. You sort of have that go-to kit list automatically, don't you?
Yeah.
The more info you have, the better. Though,
absolutely.
Really.
The more, I mean, I've never had too much information. The more information you can have. Yeah. I mean, even knowing, where you're going, and sometimes, I mean, it's very rare, but I would even have, the nearest train station that I'd need to get to, or, how to get to places, the times of things that, just all these little things that can just make everything run so much smoothly.
But your side of it, yeah. Something we as photographers, or myself especially, always put into call sheets, directions, nearest train stations, nearest tubes, et cetera, how long they're going to take. Yeah. All that kind of thing. But
how important is it to know who the model is going to be then? Like for you, it must be vital, or are you just prepared for everything?
I think because, again, it comes with experience. So sometimes I won't have a clue, and they literally turn up and nobody has any idea what they're doing, and you just have to have that really important discussion in the morning. And I've worked like that a lot of the time. And again, that comes with experience and just knowing that you can do anything that you're asked.
Yeah.
However,
sounds like a nightmare.
It's amazing. It does happen a lot. So you just have to go with the flow and just be confident in your abilities.
I guess commercially that's a nightmare, but if you're shooting personal work,
it's not so much.
And do you get that time where you just, perhaps have one of those get-togethers and go, well, not really got any direction, not going to, okay, let's see what we've got here.
Some amazing bits.
What should we go with, and create something that you've never planned, and then still really pleased with the results?
Absolutely. I mean, I know you and I have definitely done that before, Wayne.
That's why I said it.
We've just turned up and gone,
we just want to shoot.
Let's have some fun today. We've got a model. Let's just do something really creative. And you just,
and different. We had a couple of different looks in some shoots. And not only that, that's not saying to all the amateur and enthusiast photographers out there, that's how you should approach every shoot.
No.
Right.
It's just, if you want to do something creative and fun, and there's no pressure, you haven't got a client involved, then there's no harm in doing that, because you're just two people being creative, really, aren't you?
Yeah, so, that's it.
But if you were doing something more kind of planned out, then it was for a client, you really need those logistics in place, because otherwise, who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah. Are you finding you're doing more photographic work with makeup and hair, or more video and television as well? Are you balancing that, or is one leaning more than the other at the moment?
I'd say I'm still doing more photographic work. Definitely with social media and the kind of fashion film kind of presence is definitely kind of the behind the scenes kind of thing as well.
Oh yeah.
But still, at the moment, personally, the kind of commercial side is kind of where I'm working in at the moment.
And photographically, not video.
Mostly photographically.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm always open to doing whatever. Really, I've done a lot of video stuff in the past. But
of course.
That's the great thing about what I do, is 1 week it could just change, and then I could do more sort of film based stuff. Really, so
yeah, indeed.
We've been in the industry a while now, so in terms of the contacts, I think it's, there's certainly a few makeup artists that I could probably reach out to work with. But for people coming into it, where do we find you guys?
Good question.
I mean, that's a really good question. I mean, most of the photographers that I know that I work with, it's all kind of, they've got their pool of the same people they kind of just stick with, really. Sure. So I guess social media is a great way of finding people. I mean, when I was first starting out, there was things like Purple Port and Model Mayhem. I don't know if they still exist, to be fair, but that was kind of where I used to do a lot of my test shoots and things when I started. But now I kind of, like you say, you've got your pool of makeup artists that you kind of go to.
And you have contacts in the industry now as well. Yes. And, you've got a name now and a brand and things which helps as well.
But initially...
But for people who want to work with a makeup artist for the first time, that you say social media, and yes, you're right, here in the UK we have Purple Port, or in Model Mayhem is a bit more international, I think a little bit older, but yes, you got that. But on social media then, should we be, how do we find them? Do we just search hashtags of makeup artists and try and look for people in your area?
Probably find photographers that inspire you, and then see who they're using, and then contact them that way. So that was always the way that I would assist people anyway when I first started out, is to assist people that inspired me, because then you're going to go in the direction that inspires you. So the same kind of way with finding collaboratives to work with is to find the people that you want to be like and inspire to be. And that way, hopefully, you can.
And that's a good bit of advice, isn't it? Because some photographers, non-experienced, may just think, oh, yeah, she's a makeup artist, she'll do. But it doesn't work like that, does it? Because you've got to look at the makeup artists that are perhaps doing the kind of work and the style of work that you also want to do.
Yeah.
And that's probably the best transition to work with, are those kind of people, not completely the opposite, and then expect them to do something completely different.
And from my experience, I've always been really wary of working with wedding makeup artists. I will just say that now.
No,
obviously, you said at the start
fine.
it's a little bit different. Like now you're seeing a different trend, so that is good to know. But yeah, that's from my point of view, I've always been hesitant of working with makeup artists who do weddings, just because it's a very different style. So I would perhaps, and correct me if I'm wrong, say maybe don't go for a wedding artist if you're doing.
I think if somebody only does
Only
weddings,
does,
so I wouldn't say somebody that also does weddings, because obviously their skills should be really broad, and actually there's skills that you can obtain from doing weddings that if you don't do weddings, you don't have the patience and the kind of working with all sorts of different types of faces and skin experience, perhaps so much. So you should be more versatile in a way if you're able to work with general public as well as models. But if you are perhaps only doing weddings, then maybe they do perhaps need more experience with the photographic side, because as we were saying before, you need to understand lighting and the roles and the hierarchy and things within the team.
And makeups are different. Creative looks are different, But yeah, I agree with you, Jake, on what you said as well. If you're looking just for a makeup artist and you saw their webpage or Instagram page and they were only a wedding makeup artist with no commercial, perhaps, for our realms, fashion, beauty, editorial experience, I would also, think twice about using or not using them. But basically, because you want that commercial skill set to come through into your work, don't you? And
surely
doing a bit
as
of a
well,
wedding
that artist
makeup
wouldn't probably expect to be approached by a beauty fashion photographer because they've never done that before. If anything, they should be the ones building their portfolio and showing examples to then be approached. So it works both ways, really. Unless obviously you want to do a really gorgeous bridal beauty shoot and then mix the two together again.
Of course, So for our audience out there, that those that are not photographers, that perhaps or even people at university, things like that are thinking of becoming a makeup artist, hairstylist. What sort of what would you say is the best way to go about it currently in this modern age?
It's so tricky because it's all about just kind of getting your name out there, really, and learning your craft, as we were saying before. The way I did it isn't necessarily the right way, but I do feel that having that real strong kind of researched background has helped me and also develop my confidence, because I think you can only be as good as your confidence allows you. If you're sort of unsure of anything, really, then it's not really going to help you with your skills. So to know your craft inside and out, then surely that's got to be sort of a way that's going to help you sort of create your dream, really. But I do know there's a lot of artists now that are doing things through Instagram and just experimenting so much that they're just becoming incredible. So equally, that there's no reason why you can't be successful that way too.
Yeah, true.
Agreed. Yeah, I know that we were, I was perhaps slightly poo-pooing it earlier on, but no, I completely agree. Experience. If you're gonna do anything for thousands of hours, like, you're gonna get good at it. And if that's thousands of hours doing shoots that only appear on Instagram, that doesn't take away from the fact that you've got those thousands of hours of experience, for sure.
But to have a broader knowledge, I think, to do something that allows you to practice in that broad way is there's loads of courses in London that you can do all over the world, some amazing courses, and it's just about doing as much as you possibly can, practicing as much as you possibly can, working with as many different people. You're only as good as how much sort of practice you've put in as well.
Any sort of courses, whether it be sort of vocationally based in terms of university or outside training companies, you can.
Yeah, there's a lot of top makeup artists now that are also holding loads of different classes. There was the mastered class as well, isn't there? But that was more for
we've spoke about the mastered class before, haven't we, Jake? With another guest, and
we've had some guests who've had some opinions.
Very, very, very mixed. Very honest. Very honest.
So I didn't do it. So it's interesting to hear how it went, really, then.
We've had some very honest opinions from pro photographers about other pro photographers, globally known pro photographers, saying that the photographers are good, but the format was, what was his word? Absolute crap.
Oh, maybe don't do that one then.
But no, that was the photographic one, so not makeup artist one.
There was one for every element of the industry, wasn't there? So there was the stylist, the nail technician, the makeup, the hair. So
right. Okay.
Yeah,
that was a Peter Coulson response, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was brilliant.
I don't think you can ever learn enough, though. So
true.
Just keep learning and keep doing things that. I mean, I'm sure as long as you do your research and things have good reviews, then there's no reason why it shouldn't be any good. I mean, there's a lot of courses as well that people do that they think, oh, why have I paid for this? It's not up to scratch. That it is tricky to make sure that.
Do you yourself, do you still put yourself on creative courses when you see, sort of, I'll say sort of perhaps globally known makeup artists that are very big in the creative artistic world?
Master classes. I went to one
Pat
with
McGrath, people like that, or Alex Box even.
Yeah, I mean they're always holding things. Like Ilamaska did a big seminar for sort of already. I mean, you can always learn. So even if you're the best at your game, supposedly, you can still learn. So whenever there's anything going on, try and attend these things and it's just great as well because everyone's
inspirational.
Yeah, really
perhaps.
Inspirational.
Yeah, indeed.
Where are you getting your inspiration from then? As a makeup artist, you're looking for new makeup looks.
Yeah.
Like, how are you getting your inspiration? Are you in Pinterest? Are you on Instagram searching hashtags? What are you looking at?
I mean, I love looking at other people's work, but I don't always look at the work that's already been achieved. I like to look at things a bit deeper than that. So rather than just saying, "Oh, that's been done." Obviously, it's important to see like experimental techniques, but in terms of an inspiration to start off with, I like just looking at my surroundings and thinking, that looks awesome, that interesting tiny detail, how can that be expanded and transformed into a makeup look? So it's kind of a bit deeper than that for me, so a bit more of an artistic background. Yeah.
And I would say that we've spoken to several people, who have perhaps been doing their craft for a certain amount of time, and I would say that has quite often been a similar sort of answer, in that I'm not particularly looking at other photographers' work, etc., but I'm looking sort of outside, whether it be video or anime or going to art galleries, and that's not looking at trying to copy or interpret somebody else's work, but just trying to get other inspiration. So I would definitely echo your thoughts as well.
I tend to as well. Once I have kind of a starting point, I then see what other people have been doing to almost make sure that I haven't already come up with an idea that's already been kind of made. Because you don't want to. I mean, everything's kind of been done in per se, hasn't it? It's kind of everything's been revisited
just
all the time.
Variants.
So
your makeup industry is riddled with like the controversy of all that sort of thing is priceless. Yeah, you guys do seem to have a whole industry dedicated to just the drama.
Who stole that idea? I've seen that before.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh my god, they used my same red lip.
Really? I don't think you can copyright that.
not
the millions of people now and the millions of looks. It's a very.
But it is interesting that you are conscious of it though, and you're like, oh, I must be careful not to try and step on those toes and that sort of thing. So
tricky.
It is.
You do. I mean, always inspired by other artists and seeing these really cool ideas, but everything has stemmed from something originally.
Of course it has.
Nothing is unique. So
sure. And not only that, it's also perhaps, I mean, I know I do photographically in terms of perhaps lighting, and Jake will probably lean on this as well, especially with his, some of his current workshops. We also look at other mediums as well, like the painting world and the artist world. And although I do like, the Rembrandt style paintings originally, which I put a lot in my lighting techniques, I also like a lot of the harder, abstract, harsher tones, depths, monochromatic looks as well. To give you that hard look. I just don't get to shoot them very often.
No.
But do you look in makeup terms like that as well? You go for sort of abstract looks as well. And I mean, there's so much trending at the moment anyway, isn't there?
Definitely.
Creative wise.
Abstract, you could go for days, couldn't you? Just creating so many different variations of things. Looking at artists, and I mean, I actually know that a lot of artists now look at makeup and then take the makeup through to their art. So it's kind of going both ways now. So and I was thinking about this last night when obviously I knew I was coming on here, and I was thinking about how cool it is to to be able to take a blank canvas, which is the face, and transform it into the face. But why it is so interesting that it's the face, and why looking at an image is the face so kind of more interesting than, say, just and it's because we're people, aren't we? So in order to kind of build that connection, I think that's the reason why we're all so fascinated with the face, really, sort of knowing who that person is and where they've come from and why they look like that and why these elements are there. So
and not only that, obviously the face gives us mood, it gives us expression, it gives us meaning, it gives us a look, it gives us happiness, sadness, it gives us so many variants in that respect as well.
Definitely, yeah.
And then Jake just saturates them full of colour.
I'm pointing my face to the light. I can't help but give myself just that beautiful Rembrandt.
I'm impressed. There's actually daylight coming into your space right now.
I had to open the curtains for you bastards. I'm not happy about it. As soon as we're
You've
done,
got to make the most of the sunshine. Come on, it's been raining for 2 months.
I'll take your word for it. But
I mean, it's a shame this is only audio, mate. I'm surprised you haven't got a gel over that window. You know?
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to start messing with the white balance in a minute, but we'll be all right.
Oh, brilliant! Can you remember your first commercial job? You know, your very first commercial paid job for a commercial client, whether it be magazine, advertising, whatever it was. Non-wedding.
It was in New Zealand, actually.
Bloody hell!
Yeah, I went to...
What?
That's right.
What? New Zealand?
My first commercial job was not like that.
Yeah. My first commercial job was Newmarket. No, New Zealand. New Zealand.
As I was going to say earlier, when I was studying, it was important for me, as well as studying, to try and branch out as much as possible. So I thought I'd go to the other side of the world.
Branch out. Yeah. I'm going to London town. Oh yeah, I'm going to bloody New Zealand.
Right. Yeah, no, when during one of the summers, while I was at university, I went to New Zealand and lived and worked there for 6 months, because you get such a long break, don't you, over the summer?
Bloody hell.
So I went and assisted a lovely makeup artist, Karen Wells, and we did a TV job. So that was like my first, literally kind of put on the spot, go out there, go do it. We did some really cool stuff. So I worked with celebrities and all sorts. So literally, it was quite scary. But
so how did you get that gig then? Did you just
I knew I was going there, so I just emailed, phoned, just did all the kind of begging that I could do and she bless her, she said, yep, come on then.
Really?
I don't know if because I was across the pond, if that kind of helped, or whether she was an amazing lady, so she took me under her wing and taught me her craft, and I had an amazing summer working with her. So that was quite literally thrown in at the deep end.
So did you have some work that your personal work you'd put together to be able to put that forward to her in the first place?
Yeah.
It wasn't just go, I want to be a makeup artist.
No, I'd done a lot of kind of behind the scenes stuff, a lot of projects on my own back. I mean, a lot of working for free as well for years and years, just to kind of just build my my skills and ability, really. So,
and portfolio.
And portfolio.
And you were pretty good at doing a good smoke.
I wasn't bad.
One-handed, mate. One-handed.
One-handed smoky eye.
So you were in New Zealand. So that was your first paid gig. So when you were working with your first model, was it male or female? It could be either.
It was female. Yeah, it was a female.
Female. So, I mean, that's the experience. How did you feel? I mean, were you bag of nerves, nervous?
Terrified. Absolutely. I mean, it took me years where I wouldn't sleep the night before a paid job, because I would be going over my head every single eventuality of what I'm going to be asked and what I'm going to have to do, and can I do this, and what's the process of doing a smoky eye, and literally all these little details that now I don't even think about. It's
in a sleep, mate. Now, smoky eyes, whipping one out whilst reading a book.
No, I was a bag of nerves, but I winged it as I think you do when you start out. You just kind of put a smile on and try and do the best you possibly can. And
was that a catchy makeup phrase there? I winged it.
I do like to say that.
I just pulling you off. No way you did that by accident. Yeah.
I'm glad you noticed.
So, I mean, that's brilliant. I mean, what a bloody first job, mate. Hey, I mean,
that's great, man. Yeah. I mean, experience as well. Of like getting the chance to work alongside or under somebody who's got that level of experience is huge.
Yeah, I was very lucky. I don't know how that really happened, to be honest, other than just lots of
right place, right time.
Yeah.
Right face.
Yeah.
Well, So your lovely, happy, smiley, kind nature, Sarah. I think. I mean, who could say no to that? Hey, Jake. You know, but
I think it was the British accent.
Yeah, maybe the British accent.
yeah, but bloody New Zealand. Holy crap. Okay. Well, that's one hell of an achievement.
Yeah, sorry, not to put any pressure on anybody else, but
Yeah, so to all our listeners out there, this is what you should expect when you're just getting into the industry: worldwide, global travel on your first commercial job.
Yeah. No, not at all. No, I mean anything. I mean, I would have done a lot of other bits and bobs as well, but that was my first paid one that I did. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you sort of, did you wipe the brow of a sweat when you'd finished, just for getting the first one over?
I think so. I mean, but I don't know. I think it's like anything. If you're passionate about something, you really care, then you'll always have that underlying feeling. You'll always feel a little bit kind of, oh, I just want this to go well, because at the end of the day, you're only going to be as good as your last job.
True.
So you always have to make sure that you're working as if it's your first job, really, because otherwise you could do one really bad job and it could be the end of your career. So
I better delete my last shoot then quickly.
No pressure then, guys. No pressure.
Just,
I'm really scaring your listeners now, aren't
Wow.
just delete my last shoot a minute, I'm going to have to nearly 30 years.
No, it's all experimental, but still.
That's what I keep saying, Sarah. Even after all these years, I keep saying it's still experimental. But more importantly, I mean, not this is merely relevance now, because obviously it's several years ago. Was your first gig well paid? I'm not asking for a figure, just
Yeah, no, to be fair, I don't know. I think I was quite good at kind of being a bit like, yeah, I'm really good at what I do, even though I hadn't had much experience. Yeah, I don't know what I used to say.
Winging it,
yeah, I used to wing it a bit. So I would kind of be employed like I'd been doing it for about 20 years, because I think maybe my mannerism, came across that way. So
your mannerism, what you mean, arrogance?
I don't like to think I'm arrogant.
No, not so. I'm joking.
I think there is a huge amount of merit in that, though, to be fair. Yeah, I really do.
And I think that's carried.
Whether you believe it or not.
What's the term they give you, Jake? Fake it till you make it, isn't it?
Something like that. Yeah. Bullshit. I think they're cool.
I don't know how else you'd start out because you've got to learn somewhere. So by just kind of getting on with it, really, pretending like you can do it and you've been doing it for years, then that's the only way to learn, really.
I don't know why you're staring at me like that, Sarah, when you say that. Say it like that. Just pretend you're doing it like you've been doing it for years.
She's already dropped you in it, mate. She said that she turned up to one of your shoots before, and Wayne was just like, let's just wing it. Yeah.
Let's just shoot. Yeah, I didn't use that term though. I wish I did.
She drops you right.
I wish I'd used it.
No brief,
just wing
no
it.
Prepping. That's it.
Got some bloody amazing results there, didn't we?
Oh, that's the thing. Yeah.
And she still uses one on one of her social forums as well.
I do.
That was her, Wayne, not you.
Oh yeah, crap. Yeah, all right. Yeah. I know. I just pushed the button. I didn't. I lit that bad boy. That's awesome. And of course, now on a bit of a side note, you're a mummy now as well.
Yeah.
So what's
multitasking to the max now?
What's life like? I mean, small baby, or not small baby anymore. She's not, is she?
No, she's 14 months now.
14 months.
So she's a little toddler. Yeah.
The toddler in one hand, smoky eye going in the other. Whilst bringing sweets as well. Or biscuits today.
There's definitely some mummy skills that can transfer to your makeup again, though. Because, again, being a multitasker, being able to carry all your kit, being able to carry a baby, making sure you've got all your nappies, making sure you've got all your makeup. It's kind of, those skills transfer.
Hold on a minute. I've stopped wearing nappies, have you not noticed? It's past that year. Yeah. So, I mean, how do you juggle, the business side now and obviously the personal side being mummy and things?
I mean, actually, I feel completely blessed, really, to be able to be self-employed and be a mummy, because I know there's a lot of mummies out there who are struggling, because to be able to work and also do the mummy job as well, it's to do the two, it's very difficult. So to be able to be freelance and kind of work my own hours and pick and choose and evolve, I'm lucky enough that I've been doing this for a long time now that I can pick and choose. I think obviously if it had been like years ago, then it would have been much more difficult, but yeah, I mean it is a lovely sort of balance at the moment, and the great thing is, when I want to do more, I can do more, and equally be a mum at the same time. So yeah.
I must say that they are being very quiet, being tied up outside the studio. Just barely hear them. It's remarkable.
I've put them in a kennel with a dog, mate.
Just to let you know, I only have one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm not ready for two yet, though. I might not be. Yeah.
Did Jake not tell you he can see the future?
Oh, No. Amazing, but exhausting.
Okay, so before we get to a close on this episode, I mean, I could keep talking for, we've been going for, over an hour already,
Wow.
hour and a quarter. It's going so lovely.
Bye.
But let's, before we bring this episode to a close, I mean, with what you do, are there any tips, top tip that you can give our listeners that, maybe want to go into this world of being a makeup artist and a hairstylist? A top tip, what can you give us?
I think it's sort of revisiting what we've already mentioned. I think you as a person is really vital. So making sure that you're approachable, you're passionate, and you just really are hungry for this job.
Okay.
So if you really want to do it, you just literally have to put your whole life into it. When I first started out, it wasn't about the money. It wasn't about anything else. It was just that I loved doing makeup and hair, and that is all I wanted to do. And it didn't matter what kind of makeup and hair it was, what the job was, you would just do it because you wanted your skills and your experience. So passion and dedication, I think, is really important. And learning your craft. So practice, literally just eat, sleep, breathe, doing what you want to do. So you've just got to love it, and then the rest of it can come from there, really.
Beautiful. And I was expecting something quite, not as deep as that, really, Jake. I was
sorry.
expecting something like, don't put an eyeliner on with a 4-inch brush.
Oh, okay. A bit more practical. Okay.
No,
I think it's really good advice. And like what you said earlier on about, when you were getting the job in New Zealand and that sort of thing, you were on the phone writing, emailing, you were just, hammering on doors, just trying to get that, trying to get that in, which I think is what's needed, now.
It's
more
so
than ever.
competitive, like you say, yeah. So you just have to do whatever you possibly can. And then
the flip side of that is that I think there's probably maybe more opportunity to get some experience now in terms of the test shoots. I know that, there's loads of aspiring photographers and models out there at the moment who would absolutely love to have a makeup artist on set, for sure. So there's certainly the opportunity there to get some really useful experience on a wide variety of jobs.
Definitely. I mean, when I started out, it was the recession, so also that was also what was vital, that I did makeup and hair. But nowadays it's split again. So to do makeup or hair is just as key to have two individuals. So I might go and do just makeup or just hair now. But yeah, to be able to do both back then was quite important. Yeah. So yeah, just to be able to be adaptable, really.
Having both is definitely a huge bonus, though. But I suppose if you're on a bigger shoot where you have multiple models, then it's difficult.
Yeah, you want to focus on one thing often. But yeah, I mean, that was the reason why I did the two. But as you say, nowadays the industry's changed so much. There's so much more going on that actually to be able to do either or is there's a lot more going on and a lot more people to work with. So which is great for the industry. Yeah.
Just before we go, any projects, your up and coming projects you're working on or want to work on that you can share with us at the moment that are not under embargo or anything?
No, there's a couple of brands that I've been working with, some sports brands that have been doing some really nice bits. So they should be coming out soon. Lots of colour and movement involved. So that's really nice. So more advertising, but yeah. So
I know who you're shooting that with. Yeah. And it's not me, by the way. It's not me.
Sounds good.
But and yeah, just all the sort of the autumn winter stuff will be coming out soon that I've been doing over the summer. So that's quite exciting. But
well, we can.
It's funny, isn't it? You shoot in the opposite season. So
well, we're going to be starting to photograph in swimwear and stuff in a couple of weeks.
We've been doing Christmas since June, so I'm looking forward to seeing all that as well.
Well, we can
just gets earlier.
We can plug him actually because it's Glenn from Photo Red, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. All right. So if you ever listen to it, Glenn, there you go. You got a free plug in the show. We'll send you the bill. Okay, well, Jay, I think that's great. We just need to ask one final question, isn't it, before we go, which we ask all our guests.
Oh, that sounds
It could be. No. Here we ask you to personally recommend two artists. Now, that can be from the photographic or video world, hair or makeup, or whichever realm you wish, to come on to Podlemania as a guest to do another episode.
Ooh.
And if there's anybody that springs to mind immediately, then all well and good. If not, then you can share that with us after the show. But what we do ask is that you get in touch with your recommended guests and put them forward to us, and just, because you know them, we don't.
Sure.
And then we don't get done for harassment.
No, I'll have a think. Yeah, I'm sure there's lots of people that would love to come and do this.
More than
it's
two.
Great fun.
More than two, Jake.
But yeah, I will definitely have a think. And let you know.
whoever you wish from the creative field. I mean, it doesn't need to be hair and makeup. It could be another photographer even, or whatever.
Okay.
Or stylist or anything. Cake maker, maybe not. So just let our audience know, where can everybody find you, Sarah? I mean, what are your social locations?
So I sort of brand myself with my full name because, ironically, there was a Sarah Abbott that was a photographer. So I went with my full name, Sarah Elizabeth Abbott. So if you put that in Google, then I'll come up across all sorts of medias. So Instagram, that's my Instagram name. My website is Sarah Elizabeth Abbott as well. So it's the same name across everywhere. My Twitter is C_makeup, I think.
C as in
SEA.
Yeah, abbreviated. Okay.
But yeah.
Cool. And where would you want people to go to find you first? Your website or Instagram?
Instagram is kind of, I need to update my website, but Instagram is, as you say, it's kind of taking a forefront at the moment. It's just so easy to be able to update people with stories and things. So that's...
But you have 2 web pages as well, don't you? One...
I do.
Yeah.
I
you have
keep
one
them
for your
separate.
bridal.
Yeah, which
separate.
I don't know if many people do this, but I actually do have a completely, because I see them as different businesses. So I have my Sarah Elizabeth Abbott, which is my fashion beauty page, and then I have my Sarah Elizabeth Abbott Bridal, which is my completely separate bridal side of the business, because I feel that it's different clientele going towards these.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
I mean, I've got one. Have I got a wrong link here then? I've got bridal-makeupandhair.com.
That is my website, yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's the other website. Oh,
that is right. Yeah.
I was beginning to sweat then. I was like, research is wrong.
I was just saying.
Fire that person.
Instagram, I apologise.
Yeah. No, I think that's good as well. You're keeping the 2 industries separate as well, because, not everybody
Sometimes they spread across again. Yeah. So sometimes I'll update my bridal page with a bit of my beauty stuff, and then sometimes I'll put a bit of my bridal stuff on my other page. But I do feel like keeping it separate because they're
for the client.
Different clients.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I can understand that. Perfect. Anything else from you, Jake, on this one?
No, that's been great. No, yeah, love that. It was a lot to learn there, and I hope there's certainly a lot to learn there for people who maybe getting into the industry and haven't worked with that many makeup artists. I think that sometimes when people are starting out shooting, they can sort of maybe think that they don't need a makeup artist, but I would say that it makes such a huge difference. I think people get a little bit complacent with retouching and post pro now. They think, I'll just change the makeup or do the makeup or sort the skin out. In fact, I don't need a makeup artist. But yeah, like I would say it makes such a huge difference to a shoot. It's such a huge difference. Yeah,
rightly so.
Thank you.
Okay, well, just to wrap up the end of the show, I just want to say to our listeners, remember, we also have a support page over on patreon.com/Podlomania. So if you'd like to help us to produce and record even more great interviews and content for your ears with some of the world's greatest creative talents, your support is very much appreciated. And it will enable us to actually travel on location to get some of these other creators from other countries on as well, Jake, face to face, won't it? That's the mission.
Well, I thought that money was just for my
That's a 7.5 ton truckload.
Exactly. Look at that. This is not getting any shorter, mate.
Oh, we could arrange that, mate. But no, and to everyone, and remember to stay up to date and be the first to know about new episodes on all creative things from the photography and video world. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast at www.podlomania.com/subscribe. If you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe. It's on Apple Podcasts. That's our biggest podcast player. On Apple iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and podlomania.com. You can find us there as well. And please give us a like and don't forget to comment, because the comments really do boost our rankings. So especially if you're on Apple Podcasts, it sort of boosts us up the show. And I think that's about it. I mean, just want to say, Sarah, thanks for joining us. Thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, big thanks, Sarah. Yeah, appreciate that. Thanks for coming on. Yeah.
And we look forward to catching up with everyone in the next episode. And while we fade out, I'm going to go and have a chocolate biscuit and go and have my makeup done, mate.
Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable.
Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.